everybody.
Hi.
Hello.
Hey, I am so excited. I'm so glad you guys are here today. I've been working so hard on what we're going to talk about this week on this live stream because we're going to be talking about camps. And of course, Jeremy from Guard Closet. I was about to be like this, but you're over here. Jeremy from Guard Closet is here with me today. And we have a special guest, Beth from Vivace Productions. I said that right, correct?
You did. Yes, you did.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Excellent.
so
Yay.
Beth, why don't you tell us a little bit about you? The guests have met me before. The people watching have met me before, and everybody knows Jackie. So why don't you introduce yourself a little bit, and we can get to know Beth.
Ooh, well, because I'm riveting, so you're going to want to hear all of this. But I am, I'm a band geek for sure. I've been one ever since fourth grade when I picked up that clarinet the first time. I did marching band all through high school. I went to college, was drum major in high school and college band. So I've marched my feet off back in the day.
And
But I
waved
was
your
able
arms
to
off. Back.
I waved my arms off. I have it. I've got it. I've got the eyes. And I love the activity, and I've been able to actually, as an adult, my career path took me through festivals, running festivals, being a festival director, as well as group travel, planning performance tours for bands, choirs, orchestras, dance groups, guard, whomever, anybody that wants to go someplace with a group. That's my main gig. But also in the last couple of years, the company I work for has partnered with Vivace Productions, and we run the behind the scenes for a lot of their events, their summer camp events, and they run a collegiate marching band festival every year. So we are part of all of it. So it's really cool that I get to do my job, stay involved in the activity, and I don't have to sweat and work too hard out on the field. So you guys all do that part, and I can sit in my office and make sure it all runs pretty well. So that's pretty cool. But is it really cool? It's very rewarding for me. So I really love my job.
Yeah, I appreciate the fact that, like, because I'm that same person, right? Like, I went through the whole, marching band thing, color guard thing, and now I get to do this as my full-time job too. And it's just like, you can't imagine as a kid, like your amazing hobby suddenly gets to be your job, like,
Yep.
all day long, like it's just like,
it's remarkable. Yeah, it blows people's minds. Like when my friends are like, "What do you do?" and I tell them, they're like, "That's a
Right.
job? Like you can get paid
Right.
to do that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I
Right,
do."
right.
And it's pretty terrific. I
Right.
love it.
I'm
I
like,
love
yeah, I sell sequins and colorful things. That's what I do. I'm like, oh, that's fun. I'm like, yeah, that is fun.
I think there's a lot of
It
students
sounds like Beth. It sounds like Beth. We might have to bring you back for several other topics. I'm just throwing it out there, right, Jack? I'm just throwing it out there.
absolutely.
I would be more than happy to. More than happy. Love. Who doesn't love talking about band and talking about the activity and and the arts, the pageantry arts? I love it. I love it. Love it. Love it. And
I think
I'm happy
we
to
need to make
join you
for a-
anytime, whether it's for travel or productions. I'm here.
I think we need to make one of our topics being like different jobs you could have in the band world, because a lot of like students, they're like, oh yeah, I want to be an instructor because that's like the only person they're like directly exposed to all the time. They don't even know some of these other jobs exist.
Exactly. There's so many career paths you can choose. And it doesn't have to all necessarily be, front and center. There's a lot of behind the scenes work that goes into a lot of these events, as most of our audience, I'm sure, knows and is probably already doing. But it's really great to expose those students to those types of career paths so that they don't feel quite as limited.
Yeah,
Sure.
you don't have to just be a band director to continue to work with band the rest of your life. And
Absolutely.
I think that there's a lot of people that have that passion, right, to like want to work, in this activity and just assume the only thing they can do is teach band, be a band director. If
Correct.
I would have never, like that. No, like that's not my career path. That would never going to be mine at all.
Me neither.
No, but we can bring you back to talk about careers in band. Today, we're going to be talking about camps and all of the camps that happen all over the country. Beth is with Vivace, and you guys are kind of mostly in this like northeastern area right now of the United States. And there's certainly camps that happen all over the US. And we definitely want to talk
Absolutely.
about the benefits and the reasons why you should go to them, tell little stories about them. I taught at the Vivace camp that Beth is working on for years and years and years. So I have like an in-depth knowledge of that camp for sure. And I know Jackie has a bunch of camps that she does too. But we're going to start with a little bit of a hot topic, right? Like, what's going on, Jackie? What do we have?
Well, our hot topic for this week is drum corps. So a lot of people, like, that's kind of the thing that they aspire to. They want to go to drum corps. You know, DCI is like the NFL of the marching band world. And right now, well, as of last Friday, so this is prior to any corps that held April camps. Things may have changed over their April camp if they held it this past weekend. There are still a lot of corps with a lot of openings. So I have a handy dandy little list right here to tell you guys. Like I said, this is as of last Friday. So if any of these spots got filled over the weekend, I don't have that information at the moment. But specifically, there are a lot of color guard spots. Just because I know they're going for bigger color guards this year. A lot of the color guards I've heard are trying to fill out 50. I know Carolina Crown in particular made a post about they're trying to fill out 50 in their color guard this year, which is a big step up from where they have been. So if you are interested, let's see, these are, sorry, my world class, these are my open class corps. We have openings in 7th Regiment, E Academy, Battalion, Colt Cadets. No, some of these are world class too. It's mixed up. Colts, Columbians, Crossmen, Genesis Gold, Golden Empire, Guardians, Jersey Surf, Legends, Louisiana Stars, Madison Scouts, Pacific Crest, Raiders, Seattle Cascade, Southwind, Spartans, and Troopers. Every single one of those groups has at least flag line openings. Most of them also have weapon line openings. So if you're interested in spinning rifle or saber for one of those corps, I say go do it. I actually, when I auditioned for Blue Stars my first year, I got in April camp because my first choice corps I didn't get into. And so I went to the Blue Stars April camp because they had some weapons openings. And I tell you what, that became my home. I loved Blue Stars. It was such a great environment. The people were so wonderful. And like, I couldn't even imagine having marched anywhere else now that I'm, a Blue Star alum. It's just like, these are my people. It was just meant to be. So if you have been on the fence about it, go check out these drum corps. Like, go see what they're all about. There's lots of other openings too. There's gobs of brass openings. There's a few electric guitar openings. I didn't even know electric guitars were like a thing in DCI. It has been a while.
They want everything. They want everything nowadays. They want
all of the things. And then for my more techie people, there are several synth openings too. Seattle Cascade, Southwind, Legends, Louisiana Stars, Madison Scouts has a synth opening. So if you're like into some of that techie stuff, there are some other types of openings too.
And it's a challenge. And I think that's, I think it goes without saying that, a lot of these openings have occurred because of the financial obligation that these drum corps have. And I think some of them are really trying to look at that and how they can make it more affordable for everybody. But certainly those like open class corps are definitely more affordable. They're definitely usually not as long of a tour or, not as rigorous. And maybe you have like a couple of home weekends where you're not, there all the time. A lot of them have that. And I think, for somebody that is your first step into it, that's a good first step into it. It's like to step into these like Division II corps and all that kind of stuff, or, open class corps, because it can be really scary to like look at Carolina Crown and go, yeah, I'm going to go do that all summer. Like, well, no, you don't have to do that all summer. You could do, other ones that aren't as, intense, and can build up your skills for a year or season or whatever and come back and be amazing, so.
I don't think we hear about those stories enough. Is like the people who start out in like open class corps and work their way up to a world class corps. You always hear stories about like, oh, this person like went to Carolina Crown and they were instantly amazing. And it's like, yeah, but that's not the norm. That's like, we talk about those stories because they're amazing. They're exceptional. But really, that's not the norm. The norm is you go to those open class cores and you work your way up. And sometimes open class cores even work their way up into world class. Like when I went to Blue Stars, we had just gotten into world class. And so it was like, it's a pretty, I don't know, there's a lot of ways to go about it. There's a lot of ways to make your performance career
Yeah, it's
better.
like no one walks in, like it's like the perfect analogy is DCI is the NFL of our activity, the Major League Baseball. You don't walk into an NFL team, like you don't walk into a Major League Baseball team like, I'm here, take me, like that's not reality by any stretch of the imagination. And some people do that, and some people walk into the NFL right out of high school. Some people walk, you know what I mean? Like they're, but that is
Very
like so like minimal in terms of the grand scheme of things. So yeah, I totally.
Absolutely, yeah. And then if you're a woodwind like me, you're just like, yeah, that's not going to happen. I better start in an open class core, and maybe I'll learn to spin. Maybe I'll learn, maybe I'll learn a weapon, to make that transition,
And a lot of people do. A lot of like clarinets, like usually like go to mellophone or something. I usually feel like it's usually a clarinet to mellophone translation.
Yeah, because it's kind of middle of the road. So you're not playing too high, you're not playing too low. You can kind of just carry that middle line. We're good at that. We're really good at that.
Several woodwind players on the color guard with me. I actually marched Memphis Sound before I ever went to Blue Stars, and like there was several woodwind players who were on the color guard there too. So it's cool. It could happen. It could happen for anybody, really.
Yeah,
absolutely. If you've got the desire and the and the determination, and you're willing to do the work, anything's possible. But you're right. You have to setting realistic expectations for yourself. It's great to aim high and have awesome goals, but sometimes it's a process. And build on those building blocks in an open class core. You never know where you're going to go.
And to segue perfectly from that extra help you might need over the summer can come from camps that you can go to.
Camps.
Right. That's not just about your band camp. I have to say, I didn't go to a camp when I was in high school band. I didn't know about, my high school band was sort of terrible. So it wasn't even like in my sphere to even know what that was. But when I got to Westchester is such an integral part to the Vivace camps. I got involved, and seeing the number of students that come through and just get inspired in a different way than being with your own band. It's a completely different thing, and it gains so many other valuable skills. Like, don't you think, Beth?
Oh, it much like your example, if you come from a small program, if your high school has a smaller program, being exposed to any other group activity, any other band activity where you're like, okay, so I know that in my town, I'm in band and this is what we do. But when you participate in a summer camp, you realize how big this activity actually is, how many other schools are doing this, how many other students just like you are doing this at other schools. And it's a great way to have, it opens your mind, opens your horizons. You get to be exposed to all different skill sets, ideas, different creativity levels. Some schools are very, keep it pretty straightforward and clean and linear, and that's their design. And then you can have an artistic show that's much more creative or out of the box. And having that exposure through a camp, you can take all of that back with you, and even if it's not what your band's going to do that year, it gets your juices going. It gets your creativity going. It gets your excitement going. It's a great way to launch into your own program, regardless of how your program is at home as compared to, the other students at the camp, for sure. Absolutely.
And it just enhances you as the performer and your program, right? Like completely.
Absolutely.
I watched groups that came to camps year after year after year, and every year that they came back from that camp, came back from their season back to the camp, it'd be like, wow, you guys are a lot better than you were the year before, even if it wasn't the same people, right? Because it's usually the captains or whatever that go, although I encourage anybody to go, especially if you want to be a captain. Like, it's like the leadership training you get at any camp, it's just like beyond, right? They always bring in the best people, and there's always
Yep.
like the best activities. But just seeing like the groups come back year after year and go, well, yeah, you taught us at camp to do X, Y, and Z, or a new way to think about drop spins, or a way to clean that's better, or blah 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 blah, and that made us better. And it's like, oh yeah, it does work. Like imagine that. It does actually work. Like it's
It
a thing,
actually
you
works.
know?
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing too. I think it's important, Jeremy, you made a good point that, camps are not just for the leaders of the groups. Just because you're not a section leader, just because you're not a captain for your line, doesn't mean you shouldn't or can't go to a camp. It's all about, self-growth and self-improvement. And if you can take away some skills, and if you maybe you have a goal of being on the podium, maybe you have a goal to be a captain or a section leader, that this is where you can build those skills and really kind of, get some extra vitamins for yourself, so that you are prepared then when it's time to audition for that captain spot. You know exactly who you are and what you want to do and how the leader that you want to be, because you've had experience at these camps, where you learn it's about interpersonal skills as well as how to be a leader. It's not just about conducting. It's not just about, tossing a five. It's about self-improvement. And even if you never even get to your goal in the program, these are all life skills that you can take in whatever activity you end up participating in. So camps for me are all about the whole student, developing yourself musically, artistically, personally, intellectually. All of those bases are covered. And there are so many wonderful programs over the summer for students to participate in. And by the way, directors too. So there are some camps that actually offer director
Yes.
tracks that are, super cool, super awesome. I had one person the other day say, I have a brand new color guard instructor. She's our high school English teacher, and she's never taught guard. So they want to know if they can send her to our camp over the summer. And we said, absolutely.
So
It's a perfect
much.
opportunity for her to get some support, some ideas, networking for directors.
Networking. I mean,
You
that
know,
like, and even within the students, right? Like even within the students, the
yep.
networking that happens is insane to me. I mean, obviously I'm a little older, so like I'm back from when the camps where there wasn't social media, there wasn't like give me your cell phone number and your Instagram handle and all those things, right? But like, and those kids would like exchange phone numbers and exchange addresses and become pen pals and like see each other at marching band shows and go, oh my God, or like see me in a marching band show and go, oh my God. Like, it's just like, it brings up, it makes your family larger, right? Like now you're meeting the cousin, second cousin from like, Atlanta and going, well, you're kind of fun too, and like, or you do this differently, or now I'm following you on social media and I'm watching how your color guard is doing things, or your band is rehearsing and going, oh yeah, I should be doing that with mine. Like that's going to make mine better. It is like the reason why adults go to like conferences and stuff. Like I'm sure all of you kids out there, your parents have gone to a conference or two. Beth and I and Jackie have spent much of time at a conference sitting behind a table. They're ready to talk to directors and teach and whatever. This is the same exact thing. This is like coming together with your network of people and going like, oh my God, I love this activity. Let's all do it together. I mean, imagine being in a group of people where everybody really wants to be there. They really want to get good. You don't have to worry about Sally, who's the terrible sophomore who's been nasty the whole time and doesn't want to work. Everybody at this camp is like, yeah, let's work. Let's get better, And so like just that, like, excitement, right? Everybody's excited is just it makes the experience that much better. It really does.
And even if like that Sally you're talking about, like she might go to camp, she might be like, well, what's this all about? And it's like her first year, she doesn't really understand the culture of color guard and marching band and how that works, and like getting her to go there and seeing, oh, it's not just like band isn't just this group of like 100 and some odd weirdos at my school. It's like a huge worldwide community of people who are doing this thing and who excel at it, and it helps them in their everyday lives. So yeah, that is even really helpful for those kids who maybe are underachieving, or maybe they just need some inspiration to like understand the culture behind all of what we're doing.
I certainly have seen Sally show up at a camp. She's certainly shown up on more than one occasion and been absolutely miserable that first day. And like you are pulling
Yes.
teeth trying to get them to be happy about it. And then you kind of start to see them sweat, and then they get to struggle on the struggle bus, and then they go back to the dorm, and suddenly there's like all these people doing all these fun things, like after
Yeah.
dinner, and like, oh, that's fun. And so Sally kind of comes back the next day, certainly way more tired. She didn't work on her combo that she was supposed to work on because she was being friendly with everybody. But now Sally's a little more chatty and a little more talky to everybody and a little more willing to
Yes.
sweat that much more, And then like by the end, Sally's at least like, all right, I'm doing it. I'm here. I'm doing it. I'm gonna make it happen. She might not be the rah rah cheerleader for it, but she's like there and she wants to get good. And I can't tell you how many like on the flip side of that have come from like really bad programs or not as good programs, let's say, and just wanted to be better and wanted to go to drum
Yeah.
corps, wanted to go to an indoor and use the camps as a way, like they've
It's a
said, like
stepping
my
stone.
instructor, yeah, my instructor's never going to teach, the high tosses. My instructor's never going to teach me, how to play those high notes because nobody else can do it. But I need that extra instruction and I want that extra instruction because I want to go on. And like Carlos, who works for us at Guard Closet from Puerto Rico, was a saxophone player in Puerto Rico, came up to the camps at Vivace like 2 or 3 times, and is, now designing his own color guard show and went and marched Madison Scouts. And literally the instructions he received and how he fundamentally learned how to initially spin and move was from the Vivace camps. Like,
Yep.
it's crazy.
It is
It's
crazy. I
crazy.
mean, and it is a springboard. Working on your fundamentals is never a bad idea, right? No matter what career path you're in, no matter what field you're in, the fundamentals are what make it. That's what's going to make you better. If you master the fundamentals, then you can then the whole world opens up for you. So it is neat to watch the transformation of a student from the first day of camp to the last day. Even the ones that come in gung ho, you can sometimes you see them just kind of sharpen it a little bit and just kind of
Mhm.
dial it in just a little bit more, and you can just see them get it. You see the click happen, and
Yep.
it's just like the light goes on, and they are on fire and are just lit up. They're locking everything. They're super duper focused, and it's exciting. It's exciting on the backside of watching everything. It's exciting as an instructor to watch the transformation in a student, during the camp, and you can see that the student you can just see them excited. You can see
Yeah,
that
yeah.
energy, and
You
it's
feel it.
wonderful.
You feel it. It's not even
Yep,
like,
absolutely.
they're
It's
just like,
palpable.
by the end of literally, I'm not exaggerating, but by the end of the weekend, they're like, oh my God, 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 here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. And then of course we release them back to their band and, and like, we build them up and we give them all of these skills. And I know, I've had band directors come back and tell me like, what did you tell my students? Blah, 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 blah. And like
Yeah.
in the good side and on the bad side, like they were just really over enthusiastic. And I'm like, you're telling me this is a bad thing? Like I sent them back enthusiastic about band camp and excited, and you're like kind of angry at that? Come on, you need to go to band camp then. Like you need to come. You need
to come to that director track and get a little zhuzh
Yes.
in your whole
right.
mentality. Yeah.
And I think
Honestly, the
that's important to
directors,
say. Yeah, go.
the directors at director camp, like they get just as excited too. And, they're networking and they're learning new skills and they're learning new fundamentals. Some of them coming from smaller schools or whatever, maybe they never learned how to do a Peggy spin. Maybe they never learned how to do these things that we treat like fundamentals in like the drum corps or like the WGI level. But then like they go back to their school and it's like, no, we're just here doing drop spins and that's it. Drop spins and singles. And like, that's all. So they get excited because they have these new skills to bring back to their kids. They network with people. I can't tell you how many times we've had instructors come to our instructor camp at the Spintronics camp. They like get involved with our staff, and they just have like consultations with them and what have you. And then a lot of times they'll end up having our staff come to their guard and do like a private clinic for their school or something. That going back to that networking thing, like just if you know those people and that they're, they've got availability, they've got time for you and they know you, and it just makes your whole world so much bigger and you can bring that big world to your students. And then those students get excited, and they get excited to come and be a part of your team. And then more students want to come be a part of your team, and they see how much fun your performers are having.
Yeah. So Beth, what give me like a give the viewers like a down and dirty, like kind of like what's a Vivace camp look like for a camper? Like what give them like a couple of day rundown about what any normal camper would kind of go through.
Is there really any kind of normal camp?
Well, you know what I mean. Like,
because every day is going to end up being different, even with the best laid plans. But I think one of the advantages to a Vivace camp is that we are, and especially this year in particular, we are integrating a leadership track into every group that participates in our event. So you don't have to just be a drum major to get leadership content in your track. This year at the Westchester camp in particular, we've divided the tracks into several categories. So you've got your drum major track, which is self-explanatory. You've got your winds, which is woodwinds, brass, any kind of wind track. We've got the battery percussion track, which is your mobile percussion. We've got the stationary percussion track, which is all the front ensemble, and then we've got a color guard track as well. So you've got all of these different slots, and each group is going to get some leadership each day. So they're going to work on fundamentals each day. They're going to get some leadership exposure, some ideas about how they can improve themselves, because leadership skills also translate to people who aren't designated leaders within their band. So if you can develop your own, self-confidence, your abilities, taking responsibility for yourself, how you prepare for your rehearsals, that will then translate to the other students in your particular section, which then will in turn help the leaders, which will then in turn help the director, and then everybody wins and you get a successful program. So that's one of the things that makes us different in terms of the student tracks. And we also are going to work towards this year a culminating capstone event where through the week, each track is going to work on the same piece so that at the end of the week, they will perform all together. So everybody's been working on the same information, the same music, the same drill, the same design, the same, field work and color guard work, and they're going to put it together. So the capstone experience at the end of camp for families and friends is going to be a lot more cohesive, and you're going to see an actual mini show, if you will, on the field. Those things it's invaluable. Our drum major track obviously is very popular and it's very, very well known. And this year, Andy Yozviak, Dr. Yozviak from Westchester University is going to be leading. He's the lead clinician for that particular track, and really working on fundamentals. I mean, we just got finished talking about all the enthusiasm in the world and how excited these kids are at the end, and that's great and that's important and it's definitely a vital part. And we want to focus also on, let's get you past the basic four. There's a basic four pattern that you're going to do, absolutely. But there's a lot more to it. How do you read a score? How do you understand where each part of the ensemble is going to be at any time? What kind of music, and learning how to do that, but also learning how to be a better assistant to your director at home. Like what do directors look for in terms of a daily rehearsal? We know what they want in terms of leadership and, confidence and the ability to lead a group, but what's going to best help them in their program? And those are the kinds of things we're going to be working on in that track. We've got, of course, Todd Marcacci is going to be doing our color guard track. He's our lead clinician. He's brought in some more people this year. We've got some great body work people coming in. So, a day is going to be working on body work. It's going to be working on, even in color guard track, leadership. So nobody's immune from the leadership piece. Everybody's going to get it. And, we really feel like rounding out that whole experience for these students by not just focusing on the leaders, but focusing on everybody. It's going to give them a more rounded experience and something that they'll be able to really use when they get back to their schools at the end of the week. And that's really what we're focusing on.
Yeah. I mean, it's important the fundamentals is what it is. And it's, we often say, I mean, when I was teaching the color guard track, like the fundamentals that you may learn here may not be the fundamentals that you apply at home, but the information is still very much the same. And how,
you're right.
A drop spin can be done differently in different parts of the world, and that's okay. But how you think about it and the technique behind it, and muscle control, and understanding that there is muscle control, and understanding that there is all of these other elements, you can apply that to sort of anything you're doing, right? Like
Absolutely.
it's not mutually exclusive to one thing or the other. Now, I will also say this, Vivace does a pretty good job of also making sure that it's not just work all the time. Generally,
Correct.
there's an evening activity, whether there's a concert, sometimes a drum corps show happens to be in town, so we get, you get to do that. These camps aren't, yes, they're work, and you're going to sweat, and you're going to be dead tired by the time you're done. But meeting the people, sometimes there's a dance or, whatever, and they all awkwardly stand on either side because they've been sweaty all day and don't want to go near each other. And the color guard's like, I'm gross and sweaty and tired and sunburned. I don't want to be anywhere near. I'll have to.
Right. And I will say that, we've got our, camp at Westchester that I'm primarily talking about. We also have a camp at Kutztown too, that's just a drum major track at Kutztown University as well. But yes, there is a social aspect that we like to incorporate because it is important for the students. That's where they really get to network and really do that bonding, after they've been doing that all day and having that shared, they have the shared experience during the day. And then at night they can kind of decompress and kind of like process what they've actually take the time to absorb what they've actually learned. And doing that in a social atmosphere is good. Whether it's a social on the quad, we try to keep them out of their rooms and more, in nice big open spaces to please a lot of parents and adults that are responsible for these students. And, sometimes we have like special guest visitors in terms of, maybe it's a drum corps, maybe it's Carolina Crown's horn line that might show up, or maybe it's the Marine Band. I'm not going to make any promises and I'm not going to turn anybody down, but there could be a special guest or two that could provide some entertainment, in the evening, depending on, of course, a lot of it depends on logistics and tours and things like that, especially during the summer. But there are definitely opportunities that we want each student to feel and see and experience all of the parts of being in the marching arts, whatever track they're in, whatever lane they're in. I think it's really cool. And then, of course, the directors, because they're staying off campus, they can have a little more adult time and doing adult activities and things that are good for them in terms of their networking. I do want to point out too, while we're kind of talking about directors a little bit, is that we actually have a new track this year within the director curriculum. We're training new adjudicators. So US Bands and Cavalcade of Bands is having like an adjudicator track, so that they're sponsoring that so that directors can learn what it takes to be an adjudicator, not necessarily specific to those circuits, but overall, how do you adjudicate? What should you be looking for? Which will also then help those directors be better directors. Because if they know what the judges are, how the judges look at things and listen to things and see things, they'll be able to better prepare their units for an adjudication. So that's a really cool track that we're excited to offer this year. In addition to teaching directors about color guard, ultimate drill book, they're going to be doing a lot of work with our camp over the whole week with the students as well as the directors. We also have US Bands, and then Peak Group Travel, which is my main company. We're also sponsoring a track for the directors on how do you travel with a group? How do you get from A to B?
Nice.
Whether it's a one-day thing, whether it's your season, whether it's a big trip at the end of your season. So there's a lot of opportunities, a lot of information that we're so excited to be able to present, to every person who's involved in a marching unit.
And I think that's the goal of every camp all across the US, right? Is bring everybody together, get as much information as you can, get some superstars in there, and really give the fundamentals or just inspire, just get people excited and ready for the next season. I mean, I think that's a lot. Like, Jackie, where are you pulling from with the Spintronics camp? You guys pull sort of from that general area.
Yeah, we're in the Midwest. We're in Missouri, and so like we've got all of these instructors. But like like I say, we are Midwest. We have a lot of students coming in from the Midwest. We have a lot of instructors coming in from different schools. Our staff, though, is from all over the place. So we have we have people like Greg Burrell from the South Shore Drill Team in Chicago. We have a few people who come up from Florida each year. We've had people from California. And so like bringing all of these different people to Missouri, and like these are people who maybe these students wouldn't have access to otherwise. You know, they wouldn't necessarily be able to learn South Shore style rifle technique anywhere else, except that we're bringing them together with, you know, with our staff and with the students here. So yeah, really bringing that together. And on our camp, we're more focused on like the techniques of performing and the techniques of performing color. It's just a color guard camp. It's not a full on band camp, but you know, we're more focused on those techniques of performing with color guard. We do the basics of color guard. And then, you know, getting people to that next level. So a lot of those performers who come in, we have kids come back and contact me every year, and they're like, oh, I came to camp last year and it was awesome and I loved it, but I'm just sad to tell you I'm not going to come to camp this year because I'm marching drum corps this year. And so there's always that sort of thing that goes on. And, you know, we were talking before about getting kids to that next level. And we're talking, a lot of these students are from really small schools. I graduated from a high school that had 400 students in the high school. And it's like this little, you know, town, the small town. And I think these kids seeing that they can be from a small town, be from a small program, maybe a non-competitive program. I've had students who come from color guards that only do football game halftime shows with their bands. And then they're like, well, I could go do drum corps, really? Like, and they honestly, some of them become the best performers in drum corps because they didn't even know it was an option.
They're suddenly like, oh my God, I can do this. And this is like, you never know what's going to touch like a child, you know, a student, like what's going to inspire them. And, you know, having taught so many of these, just be like, I learned over the years at teaching these what is important about teaching, right? Like seeing these kids get inspired, just like you said, the kid that comes from the program that only does halftime shows, and there are 4 kids in that color guard, and that kid comes to a camp, and then the next season they're like, I'm marching, you know, Jersey Surf, or I'm marching, you know, Carolina Crown even, you know, like, it's just like so heartwarming, and like makes me as the instructor and as the director or whatever just go, okay, like we did it, we achieved our goal, we inspired someone. Like it's so weird how and you know, I'm sure you guys feel the same way, you all feel the same way, that one student can just like change your entire experience. I could be having first camp, I could have like gone to the director's session and had the adult activities as much as possible with all of the directors and been miserable the whole time. And the last day I will watch that girl who's been not catching that toss or not even throwing that toss the whole time do it, attempt it, and get it. And I'm like, gee, like, I'm like, oh, this is the best. Like, it's the best. It's the inspiration. And if you are watching or listening to this and you're like, I don't want to go to a camp, there's not one near me, or it's going to be scary, or I'm not going to get anything out of it, I'm going to say you're 100% wrong on every single account. Like, literally. Jackie has a huge blog post that you can talk about it, Jackie, about like all of the camps that are out there.
Yes.
Go ahead, talk about it.
Well, I'm going to add Vivace to it too, because I do not have your camp information. I need to get that.
We will make sure to correct that. I'll get it to you. Don't you worry.
So it's on the Spintronics Guard website. Go to spintronicsguard.org, and under the About section is our blog. It's the latest blog post. I've not added anything since then. I have been keeping this updated though, with as people send me, you know, I put some feelers out in different social media areas. As people send me camp information, I'm putting it in this blog post. I'm organizing it by state, so you can find a camp somewhere near you. And I'm putting links, everything. If somebody sends me a link, I'm putting the link in there and putting links to registrations for these camps and things like that. So if you're like, ooh, I'm in Pennsylvania, what camps are there for me? You can just scroll down. They're the states are listed alphabetically. Scroll down to the P's, there's Pennsylvania, and there's maybe 2 or 3 different camps in different parts of the state. Or there's a lot in Missouri, because that was the first people to be like, hey, because I'm in Missouri. They're like, oh, we have all these clinics and things going on. Some of them are just like 1 or 2 day clinics also. So if you're like, I really want to do a camp, but I don't have a full week that I can dedicate to just going away, because I know Spintronics is like 5 days. It's July 5 through the 9th. And they're like, oh, I can't dedicate a whole week to that. Well, there are camps, or there are clinics that are like a single day. A lot of people ask me too how to get a Spintronics clinic in their area, because generally we do travel all over the country in the summer to teach. There is a get a quote section on our website. You just go in and you put in your information for where you would like to have the camp. If you have your own guard or something, you have a school you'd like to have it at, put your information in and we will send you a quote and let you know how much clinics cost. And it's basically just like a travel fee and then a per student fee. And obviously if they're further away from us, if you want us to come out to California, that's going to be a little more expensive than going to Arkansas or something. But yeah, it is a service we do. And a lot of the people now, pre-COVID of course, but a lot of the people who have clinics with us wanted to keep having clinics every year and bringing in their new members. So it's really cool to kind of give them a taste, and then those performers get excited about it, and then they want to go to camp. And then when you get your whole team going to camp, that will really change your program right there.
Although I will say, I often find, and this is just an aside from me, and it will go against what both of you want, which is more people at your camp, but I often find that when the individual comes to camp, the individual captains come to camp without their full group, without, all of their posse with them, they actually have a better experience. When you're going there with your people, like you're just hanging out with your people, and your people have their own vibe, and you've established that vibe within your color guard, and it might not be the work ethic that everybody else is doing, whether it's a high work ethic or a low work ethic, right? But what I encourage is, whether you are coming with your whole group or not, to spread out yourself, right? Like, don't be with your group all the time. Like, we're always in the same, spot on the field. Like, Beth, is going to put together a big production at the end of the Vivace camp, right? Like, I don't want all of Main Street High School standing in a line next to each other, spinning, as Main Street High School. Main Street High School needs to go and meet all of the other high schools that are there, and, individually meet those people. So if you're going to go with your group, but don't remain as your group. Expand, right? Like, go out and do other things. You already know those people. And some of them, you're going to see for the whole season. Like, it's fine. Like, go meet somebody else. You'll be okay. You'll honestly be okay.
You will be okay.
We promise. No one will kill you. No one will bite your head off. Everyone is there just as miserable as you are at 9 o'clock at night when they're all done and sweaty. So, like, just go and commiserate in your sweaty misery and have a lovely time. Like,
your sweaty misery.
And that's another thing, like, it's hard. Like, sometimes we've had people who come to camp, come to a clinic or something, they're like, oh, it's just so hard. Like, that's another thing, is just having that idea of, like, just do your best while you're there and enjoy it, because it's a week of your life. That's it. Like, it's just such a short amount of time, and then you don't have it back.
Yeah.
No, it goes fast.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's like over before you know.
So
and you see a lot. At least at the Vivace camp, I always feel like we're eating. Like, you go at breakfast, then you do a little bit, you do a little learning, then you go and have lunch, then you do learning, then you go and have dinner, then you go and do a little learning. And by the end of the night, I'm like, well, now I need to do a little more food again, right? But it's like 9 o'clock at night, not the best time. But like, you get into that cycle, right? Eat, spin, go home. No, that doesn't work for me. I need to. This has been I think, getting to meet Beth and, bringing Beth as a part of this. And I'm sure we would have Beth come back soon and talk about those other things that we're,
anytime.
We could talk again about camps, absolutely, Beth, bring you back in, get a little more information sometime later. But I truly appreciate you coming on with us and talking camp and, being a big band nerd with us like you are.
I am. I own it. I love it. Everybody that knows me knows it. It's not a secret. I'm the band nerd, and I'm totally fine with that. And I am of an age where, yeah, this is it. This is how it is. And I love it. I love this whole activity. I'd be happy to talk to you about that. We've got other leadership camps that are around the country that we're doing, also half day camps. So I'd be happy to come back and talk anytime that you want to about that or travel. I'm here.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, and thank you, Jackie, and thank you, everybody. And what else, Jackie?
I'm so glad. I'm excited that Beth got to come because like I love meeting more people who do the same sort of thing because there's not a lot of people who do the same sort of thing around where I live. And so like the internet is awesome for that. I feel like a lot of people feel that way. You know, you're kind of like, oh, there's not a lot of people here that do the same thing in my school or whatever. And that's it's so cool that we have this sort of way to interact with each other online. So thank you again so much, Beth, for coming.
I love it.
Well,
it's good. Well,
go ahead.
Say again.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just
gonna
can I just
say
say real quick, vivaceproductions.com. If anything I said sounds interesting to you, go to the website, vivaceproductions.com. You'll see all the information about the camps, whatever track you're interested in, pricing. We're open. You know, we'll take your registration now, and you know, $50 will get you in, and then you could work on the rest later, and we will we'll get you hooked up with some amazing instructors and amazing opportunities.
Yes. Love it. We love it.
Spintronics Guard Camp is also open, spintronicsguard.org. I'll link everything. Like I said, it's going to be in the blog post. I will link it in the description of the video too after we're done here so that you guys can find it and get yourselves to a summer camp. So thank you guys so much. This has been awesome. We're going to be back again next Thursday. And we already talked about what we're talking about, right, Jeremy?
Yes. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, kind of.
Okay. We're going to be talking about some design next week. So make sure you tune in for that.
Design and how to, you know, maybe do it affordably and not, you know, not do it just in the box. I'm in the box. Like that. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.